Good morning. It is May the 6th, 2020, and this is the last daily news that I'll be doing as we are at the end of the semester. All right. When we began the semester, there was just a little bit of talk about the coronavirus. I mentioned it in classes in the middle of January. It began to get serious attention on the part of the United States at the end of January when President Trump banned travel from China to the United States with some exceptions. And then in February, we watched as it slowly spread across China and then came to the United States. By the time we went to spring break in March, we were wondering, really questioning whether we were going to come back from spring break or whether the government was going to order us into a lockdown. And that's in fact what took place. What was in the middle of March, 15 days to halt the spread of the coronavirus, became in April 30 days to halt the spread of the coronavirus. And now we are in the beginning of May. The coronavirus did not accelerate as fast as some people thought, but it is now deeply entrenched in most parts of the United States and in many, many countries in the world. There are very few countries that do not have a case. And now we're having a debate in the United States over when and how to come back from that lockdown. Here in Texas, businesses are being allowed to open, restaurants are being allowed to open. Some of you who may have lost your jobs during spring break or afterwards during the lockdown may be called back to work. But there's still an awful lot of life that is not the same. We're supposed to be wearing masks. We're supposed to keep our social distances. It's going to have a great effect on how school will take place this summer and especially in the fall. It's going to have a great effect on what's going on in our churches, what's going on in athletic events, what's going on in cultural events, music, theater, movies, all of that is going to be affected by this pandemic. Who would have thought as we began the semester that we would be here? I never did. I am just amazed. And I'm amazed that we have to go from where we are today to whatever the future is. And the reality is we really don't know what the future is. Okay? And that's can be a scary thing. Okay, so with that in mind, here's the latest numbers. Worldwide cases of the coronavirus, 3.75 million cases and about 259,000 deaths. In the United States, 1.2 million cases and 72,000 deaths. So it still continues to spread. Here in the state of Texas, 816 cases. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Here in Texas, 29,000 cases, 816 deaths. And let's see, I got to make sure I got this right. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong numbers. Let's go through that again. Here in Texas, 33,000 deaths. I was reading numbers that are 4 days old. 33,000 deaths here. Okay. We're going to do it one more time. Here in Texas, 33,000 cases, 906 deaths. Now I got it right. So 33,000 cases here in Texas and 906 deaths. The governor of Texas yesterday at a press conference emphasized that even though we have 33,000 cases, a lot of people have recovered and 15,000 cases are considered to be active. And 906 deaths is the latest total that the state of Texas has. Here in Taylor County, There's 378 cases of the coronavirus, 235 that are active, 6 deaths from the coronavirus. There's been a series of hotspots in the Abilene area. Abimar, the cookie manufacturer, Disability Resources, um, the 2 prisons are hotspots now. Um, there's 95 cases there between the 2 prisons that are outside the city. My wife works at the Robertson unit, and they have, I think, 37 cases or so. So she's right there in the middle of this. Um, it's here. The Public Health Department of Abilene-Taylor County says that we are flattening the curve. So we're continuing to go up, but it seems to be flattening. There were 21 cases yesterday. Um, it's just present and it's going to spread. Okay, let's see. The governor wanted to emphasize yesterday, Governor Greg Abbott, he wanted to emphasize yesterday that 95% of the people who test for the coronavirus have a negative test. And that is a really positive number. And you look at this disease over the last couple of months, and that is a very, very important statement that he's making. New York, there would be 10, 12, 15% of the people who would be tested who would be positive. Here in Texas, it's only 5%. That's really, really good, which means we're expanding the testing. More people are getting tested. And the disease is not spreading like wildfire at this point. Now, as we open up, the concern is that people are going to get sick. The disease, in fact, is going to spread. And the biggest thing about this disease, the thing that makes it so different than the flu, is the fact that it can spread easily, and it spreads by people who often don't know that they're sick. In other words, people who have no symptoms, they can spread the disease. When you've got the flu, you know you have the flu, and you don't go out, you stay in bed. If you do show up to something, everybody stays away from you because you're sick. With the coronavirus, first 4 to 5 days you could have it. You don't have a clue that you're sick. You're out and among people. Nobody stays away from you. You don't stay away from anybody else. And that's where the coronavirus is so different and therefore so deadly. I want to emphasize that people are really looking at something called excess deaths. In other words, and I've talked about this before, in other words, we have an idea of how many people die in an average day in the United States. In fact, I think I actually have written it down. It is something like 55. I don't have it there. Yeah, in the United States, 7,452 people, 7,452 people die on average every day. Okay, 52,000 in a week. And that's a pretty predictable number. What has stood out with the coronavirus is that all of a sudden, we've got this very predictable number, and boom, a spike up. 37,000 excess deaths have occurred because of the coronavirus. Okay, so in other words, people who say these people would have died anyway, we're talking mostly older people, they would have died anyway. No, in fact, they wouldn't have. It's the excess deaths that really tell the story. 37,000 people died who wouldn't have died. And that's just from March to beginning of April. Okay, that's where the coronavirus really stands out. That's where we know it's killing people. President Trump yesterday said that yes, as we reopen the country, some people are going to die. What he is making the case for is that we need to get back to work, and we need to accept that people are going to die, just like we accept automobile accidents, just like we accept deaths from guns. We are going to accept deaths from coronavirus. That's what the president said. And in a large measure, as we go back to work, as we go back to school, we're saying, yeah, there's a possibility that the virus can spread. And because of that spread, people, mostly elderly people, will die. And we're accepting that. Okay? Who would have thought we would be where we are today when we began this semester? Thank you very much for listening to me all these months. It's been a fascinating, horrifying, historic time. You have to go back to 100 years ago to see anything like this in the United States. So I really appreciate your attendance, and I hope everybody has a good, safe summer, and hope to see many, many of you again in the fall.